As far as the NFL lockout is concerned, injunction yesterday, and so the lockout was lifted, and obviously there'll be more counterpunching going on here. Eric Macramella from sportslawblog.ca is with us. Eric, welcome. How are you?
Hey, Jim, I'm good. How are you doing?
Pretty good, thanks. So I guess, from a distance, you applaud the players for getting the injunction. So some players reported today and didn't have much to do, and the NFL didn't seem to know what to do with them. And I guess maybe from a distance, I expected that the NFL would respond right away. Is that an unrealistic expectation?
No, it's not an unrealistic expectation, and the NFL has sort of waffled a bit on this. But as far as the players go and the attendance, going to the stadiums and trying to work out, the NFL, because the lockout has been lifted, the players were granted access to the buildings, but they were not permitted to work out. And that's interesting for some players who actually have bonus clauses, that they have to attend 85% of the workouts, which means they actually can't miss any. So there's one guy, the offensive tackle for the Jets, Ferguson, he's got $750,000 bonus if he attends all of his workouts. All that aside, the NFL is what they've been doing today, at the end of the day, is sort of toying with the wording in the judge's decision and saying, you know what, maybe we should operate as if the lockout is actually still going on. So it's still a little bit gray, but we should get some clarification as the week progresses.
Eric, in terms of clarification, what do you expect that to be? How do you expect, outside of a possible appeal, the NFL to respond to yesterday's ruling?
Well, the NFL has already responded in two ways. The first thing is they sought a stay of Judge Nelson's decision, and that is basically asking her to postpone the implementation of her decision to lift the lockout. That's the first thing. Second thing is, after not being successful, they immediately filed an appeal. And that appeal may take place in 3 to 4 weeks if this is treated as an expedited sort of urgent matter. But that's how the NFL reacted yesterday, that is to seek a postponement or a stay of the decision, and at the same time appeal Judge Nelson's decision, try and get this overturned. But I will say this, Scott, all of this has unfolded as scripted. When I first started addressing this matter in September of last year, a lot of people, including me, were saying this is going to unfold exactly how it has unfolded. And it's not that we have a crystal ball. It's that we look to the past. And by looking at the past, we can figure out what's going to happen in the future. This year has sort of happened before. So the players, the union decertifying or technically disclaiming interest has happened before. All right, the NFL locking them out has happened before. And by all reasonable expectation, people were of the view, including me, that the players were going to be successful and stood on the stronger side of this case in court. So my expectation, and it's just my opinion, is that the players do sort of stand on the stronger side of this case, and this might be an uphill battle for the NFL. However, I'll say this, Scott, the NFL thinks that it has a good chance here because on the Court of Appeal, 13 of the 16 judges were appointed by Republicans. So they tend to toe the line. And Republicans, as you know by nature, tend to be conservative and pro-business and perhaps anti-union. So that's what the NFL, in part, is betting on. But you know what? If I had money to put down here, guys, I would be siding with the players just because Judge Nelson came out with this decision, this 89-page decision that was well-reasoned, well thought out, and she found in favor of the players, and this was not remotely a surprise.
Could this in any way, shape, or form be, the future template for all leagues when the league of choice decides to lock their players out?
That's such a great question because in the NHL in 2004, 2005, when the NHL locked out the players, decertification, or again, technically speaking, disclaiming interest, was an option. It's an option in the NBA. It's an option in all these leagues that the unions can blow themselves up, become a collection of individuals, and then sue the leagues for these antitrust or anti-competitive violations. So it's absolutely an option. Thing is, the NFL, I guess, is kind of structured a little bit better and is more amenable to this type of claim. But you're absolutely right. But the thing is, if you are going to decertify, Jim, if you're going to disclaim interest, you'd better have all your guys on board. And an issue in the past with the NBA, for example, is that they haven't had all their guys on board. So it's definitely an option, and the NBA and the NBA PA head, Billy Hunter, is watching this very carefully. I mean, I know late last year I spoke to Richard Burleson, who is the general counsel for the NFLPA and was their interim head before DeMaurice Smith stepped in. And I asked him, I said, just on the side, I said, is Billy Hunter watching? And he goes, absolutely he's watching. So the NBA is watching, and it is definitely something that I think that they would consider because it does provide tremendous leverage for the players.
Eric, from a fan's point of view, they want to know if players will take the field by September when the season is supposed to start. The NFL has released its 16-game schedule, and we know that there is contention on that. The league wants 18 games. The players want some assurances if the regular season is to expand, and that's just one small issue. But you have gone back and looked at previous settlements and the way that they have played out and predicted it up to here. Will there be football in September? What's going to happen between now and 4.5 months from now to get us to opening day? Will there be players on the field on September 8th?
Here's the thing, Scott. If the lockout remains lifted, and that is to say that if the injunction the players sought and they got to lift the lockout remains lifted, what that means for fans is that the NFL is effectively open for business. So if the lockout remains lifted, there will be football in 2011. If the NFL is successful in their appeal, and on balance, they have an uphill battle, but if the NFL is indeed successful in their appeal, the lockout drops again, and the players are locked out, and then there may not be football in 2011. So everything being equal, if the players can continue to succeed and maintain that momentum, which has swung their way since the day they decertified, fans could well see football in the fall of 2011.
Eric, what's your gut reaction to this? Do you think that they're going to win the appeal, and do you think it goes back to the lockout and I guess the bargaining table at some point, or do you see the players actually winning?
Well, first thing is I'm out of shape, so my gut is kind of gross. So I'd rather not talk about my gut. Let's talk about my ankle reaction, okay, guys? Because again, to recap,
it's not wrong, Jim.
I was just in South Beach this past weekend to see the Charlie Sheen show, and I'm walking around without my shirt on, and I realized quickly, Eric, put your shirt on. People are disgusted. What do I think will happen on appeal? I think, on balance, that the players historically have a better case here. If I'm betting, I think the players are successful on appeal. But like I said before, the NFL, they have reasonable arguments to make, and they feel they can succeed, and this is why they are moving forward. Ultimately, and I've said this so many times through Twitter, which is Eric on Sports Law, by the way, is there are fairly obvious areas of compromise. We are not looking at a major overhaul of the business model like they were in 2004, 2005 in the NHL, which led to the shutdown of the league. What we're looking at here is how to divvy up some money. So it's not a fundamental cultural business change. It's just how do we chop up this pie so everybody is happy? And that, to me, is a fairly obvious area of compromise. So my hope and my expectation is everybody gets back to the table in a month or so, or hopefully sooner than that, and hammer something out. I've said all along my opinion was, we would see the parties agree in late summer to something. We're still at the posturing stage. And my hope and expectation is we would, see football because in my fantasy pool, which is a keeper league, I've got Foster and I got him really cheap. So I'd like to have him play and not waste a year.
Eric on Sports Law, Eric with a C. Quickly, Eric, because you brought up DeBrickashaw Ferguson, how does the bonus structure work? So they're not locked out right now. He shows up to the Jets training facility. They won't let him in. I mean, my assumption is he's owed his bonus money because he showed up. Or is this all part of the broader agreement or lack thereof?
Well, Scott with an S. In that circumstance, I was actually looking at that today and not doing my real job, which is becoming a problem. But I was looking at that, and my sort of conclusion is that the player needs to make himself available for the workout. So today, the NFL opened up business again. So the players were told, look, if your contract says A, B, and C, you're supposed to do something and discharge an obligation, go and discharge it. So Ferguson goes ahead, shows up. I don't know whether he showed up today. I'm just using him as an example. Shows up. He's not allowed to work out, but he has made himself available for the workout, and by extension, in my opinion, should be eligible for that bonus.
Eric, thanks very much for stopping by. I'm sure we're going to have another conversation or two on this one.
My pleasure, guys.